The Royal Navy is the oldest navy in the world. It's got over 37,000 people in it, and we patrol areas and keep the shipping lanes open from as far north as the Arctic Circle right down to the Falklands and Antarctica. We've got ships out in the west coast in the West Indies, on the east coast of America, and we've always got a lot of ships and aircraft operating as far east as the Gulf and Indian Ocean. So we're keeping the trade routes open throughout the world, and of course 95% of all trade that occurs throughout the world goes by sea. So it's important to keep those shipping lanes open and free and allow trade to prosper. We have probably the second largest navy in the world to do that. It's made up of submarines, aircraft, helicopters, and all the logistical support that goes to keep all those people at sea and operating in all those different conditions, whether they be as extreme as the Antarctic or as hot as working in the Gulf or the Indian Ocean. So it's quite a logistical train, and as you can imagine, that there's jobs for everybody within those roles as well. Everything from the chefs to keep people fed, to the pilots to actually go out and support the Marines that we've got. And of course we forget as well that the Royal Marines is part of the Navy too, a very proud part of the Navy. Everyone sort of assumes that they're part of the Army, but they're not. They're an integral part of the force that we deliver and the protection that we provide to ships and to countries. Teamwork is the essence of everything we do actually in the Navy, and in fact the strapline that we use for all advertising is "The Team Works." If you take, for example, the last conflict I was involved in was the Second Gulf War, and we had to take about 25 ships sort of halfway across the globe to the North Arabian Gulf with about 15 to 20,000 men on board, and we had to be able to station just off Iraq for about 2 to 3 months. So there was the logistical chain of providing all the food and ammunition and helicopters and so forth to get down there, and that takes an awful lot of people with a lot of different specialisations to achieve that very difficult task. And on a more personal basis, just in the aircraft itself, I fly an aircraft which has got a minimum of 3 crews. It's got 1 pilot, it's got the observer, who as I said works as a mission commander and the navigator, and I have an air crewman as well, who is his support and will provide lots of help for the secondary roles that we do, such as search and rescue and troop carrying and so forth. So for that multi-million-pound aircraft to operate at its maximum efficiency, everybody has to contribute towards that one operational achievement, and it's important that we practice it and work together and everyone understands each other's strengths and weaknesses and makes alliances and compensations for that as the goal. To keep these aircraft in the air, for every hour they fly, they need a considerable amount of maintenance because they're very complicated. And so from the guys who actually do the hands-on fixing of the aircraft on a daily basis, the servicing, to the guys who put in the fuel or arm the aircraft with its weaponry, or the guys who are responsible for ordering and ensuring that all the parts that are delivered and forecast to be required to be delivered for the aircraft, because a lot of things on the aircraft are lifed, if you like. So just the way somebody has to operate in a supermarket and make sure that the stocks or the shelves are always full, again we have lots of people doing that for us as well, and that's a complicated task. So all those people have to come together just so that I can fly one mission, and that happens every day, day in, day out, 365 days a year. So it's a complicated business. Teamwork is something that is instilled in all of us, but there's ways of bringing it out of people, and you can actually train people to adapt the skills that they already have. So we do spend a lot of time teaching people how to work on their leadership and also how to work on their flexibility and creativity, as we touched on before, and we do that with a range of both physical and mental training exercises, where it could be simply getting people to build a bridge with a few bits of stick and rope and get their whole team from one end of a room to another, to something more practical which may be involved with helping to restore water or food or essential supplies to an African town that's been flooded or has suffered a terrible natural disaster. We practice those sorts of team building and teamwork evolutions, and there's a lot of that throughout, and it's endemic, if you like, throughout the whole of your naval training. When we take an aircraft carrier to sea, we've got 5,000 people on board it. And 5,000 people is the size of a small town, and it needs all the support that a small town would have as well. So we carry nurses, we carry doctors, we train our own doctors, and they will help with the local hospitals as well. So we actually provide those doctors to the general hospitals outside of the Navy, but they're naval doctors and naval nurses. We have accountants which control all the finance for it, again, all within the Navy. We have people who provide all the lawyer support as well, because obviously we're involved in conflicts all over the world, so we need to take legal advice for different bits and pieces. And there's very few jobs that you could think of doing outside of the forces that the forces don't also provide opportunities for as well. So as I said, it is a small town, so anything that you could imagine happening in those towns, we will train for and do as a vocation in the Navy. It's every schoolboy's dream to fly an aircraft and to be given control of the most advanced helicopter in the world on a daily basis and fly with a bunch of people that you get on so well with and you respect their teamwork and their professionalism as well. It's just a joy, and you look out the window on a beautiful clear morning of the aircraft and you have the best office view in the world. And every day is different. You never know where you're going to be at the end of that week. You could find yourself in any part of the world operating in any sort of mission. It could be humanitarian work, or it could be actually delivering force or protection to whatever country's in need of at the time. No 2 days are ever the same, and certainly no 2 months are ever the same. And from an opportunities point of view, every 2 to 3 years we change jobs. We actually move to either a different aircraft or a different squadron or different unit. It may be teaching, or it may be trials and development of new aircraft. And in fact, I've just come from a job where we're developing the next generation of helicopters. So again, you get involved in all those varied roles. So it never becomes staid, it's always interesting, it's always dynamic, and it's always challenging. The squadron I work for, I'm the executive officer, I'm the second in charge of that squadron. And we have 8 aircraft and over 400 people. And it's got a net value of just over £1 billion for all that. And with all those people and all those requirements, and with the role that we have to deliver, it needs constant management, it needs constant juggling of the assets, and there's not an endless pot of money for all those bits of equipment and people. And so we have to be able to do the best we can in a very flexible environment. You never know whether you're going to be at your local base at the end of the week or at the other end of the world or country. And so you have to be reasonably creative and flexible about how you organise your people, about how you manage them, how you manage their expectations, and how you lead them in amongst all that. And that's an important bit. So it's a flexibility and creativity in keeping it all interesting for them without making life too arduous for that. Recently we've had a very unique and specific problem with a complicated jet engine in the helicopter that I fly. And this engine's built by Rolls-Royce, very famous aircraft engineering company. But we kept having the same problem over and over again, and they couldn't come up with a solution to it. And one of the guys who works for me, is one of my chief engineering artificers, discovered that by simply removing a drainage pipe and moving it to a different part of the engine, which is a very simple solution and fix, he saved the Navy endless amount of money. He's provided Rolls-Royce with a perfect solution to the fault that they couldn't resolve. And so that creativity, if you like, that awareness and understanding of how the engine and the aircraft works to everyone's benefit. Again, it helps the team. Flying training from when you first start and all the initial officer training as well is a long and difficult process. And there is a lot of perseverance in keeping going when times do get difficult. We do survival training where you get stuck out in the forest for a week or 2 weeks at any time. You're not fed, you're tired, you're cold, you're wet. It's really not fun being there. And there's lots of other occasions when that's the same. And so you need something to force yourself to keep going and to look through those difficult times. And the good times make up for that. It's that sort of perseverance and will that's what we're looking for in future recruits, really. It's people who aren't prepared to give up, who are prepared to look at challenge head on, deal with it, master it, and then you get a sense of sort of fulfillment and accomplishment after doing that sort of thing. It's only by really putting yourself through those difficult times and persevering through them that life and the job becomes the sort of rewarding and challenging prospect that it is to so many of us.